Hey everyone, it's the Libertarian Advisor, and today I just want to make a real quick video on how these polls are rigged and why you should stop paying attention to them. So yesterday, my dad and my grandfather, were, telling me how, Trump is down by 11 points and didn't I see the polls? And, I'm basically have lost my mind because, Trump is getting clobbered. Tried telling them that the polls, are all BS. Well, today one of my friends sent me this link from Zero Hedge where, definitively we can see that the polls are BS. So over here we see, all the gaggle of media repeaters, not reporters, who are basically telling everyone how Trump, basically got his you-know-what handed to him yesterday. Here is the actual data and methodology from the polls. So you guys can put that in the search engine, see it for yourself. And one of the interesting points is that if you look at it, you've got 36% of people were leaning Republican, whereas 43% were leaning Democrat, and 12% were independent. And the first point they make is that is completely subjective, especially since 40% are independents nationally, which is a big reason why the third parties can't get in there. So if you're only asking 12% of Americans who they're going to vote for, and the threshold to get into the debates is 15%, then it's going to be pretty hard when you're asking mainly Democrats and Republicans, and you're not even including the other people as a choice. Then of course you're not going to be able to get into debates. But this is not what this article is about, but it's still important to understand. So where things get really crazy is we see that this poll was done by Hart Research and Associates. And so Hart Research is actually run by a guy by the name of Geoffrey Garin. So Geoffrey Garin, pretty interesting character because it looks like he actually worked for a super PAC, Priorities USA, to help get Obama reelected. And now that same super PAC is devoted to getting Hillary Clinton elected. So how nice. And we can see that the Clinton super PAC paid Mr. Hart's organization just in September alone over $220,000. Now, don't you think that would be an important piece of information if you were the media to have to divulge as a conflict of interest? I know everything I do, I've got to divulge conflict of interest. And so you see that, Rupert Murdoch at Wall Street Journal helped run this poll. Rupert Murdoch also owns Fox News. So anyone who pays attention to Fox News and is a conservative, you need to turn it off now because they're absolutely lying to you. And whenever the media says they have a poll, you need to frame it as the biggest liars I know said that. And so every time the media says something, just say the biggest liars I know said blank. And then I think we'd all be much better off because they are the biggest liars. Now, I just want to get into another couple quick points. So I had a teacher for market research who, he was only teaching because, he was retired and, wanted to keep his mind active. He was high up at a major company. And basically, he told us day one, how you can manipulate these polls, how you can, manipulate basically any survey you want. And when you actually call in to get a survey done, you ask what result do you want to be. You call into the sales department. It's not objective surveys, or very few of them are objective surveys. And then I know other people even smart people who've told me, as a matter of fact, the guy who sent me this link, told me that he looks at Real Clear Politics. Well, if you take a bunch of crappy polls and then you average all the crap together, you still end up getting crap. Not to rag on him or anything. But these polls, far understate independents. They far understate millennials. Millennials are not going to be picking up out-of-state phone calls, spending 5 minutes. Sometimes the polls don't even ask. They might even. It just depends, how they frame the question, how there's a build-up to the question, how they position things. They can get the desired results that they want. And so at the end of the day, these polls are complete crap. And the sooner everybody realizes that, I think the better off everyone will be. But this is a blatant violation of, I think, the media's trust. There is no trust left, which is why I created this page. And I hope you guys spread this far and wide because this information needs to be known. If people in my own family, don't even know this, I'm sure there's, millions of other people that don't know this. And this is vital information for everyone to know. Thank you for watching and have a good night.